Well, hello, folks that are joining us. We are just going to wait a few minutes before we get going. We have our speakers here already, Belinda Colón and Ray Frazier. We're just going to wait a few minutes and maybe banter about before we get started. So thanks for joining us. And if you're here, it's going to be a great conversation. So thank you. If you have any questions for us, you can pop them in the Q&A and we'll take a look at those.
Ray, I love your background.
Thank you. This is what's going to be my home office. I've been working on it for about a month now. It's not finished, but it's coming. It's coming.
It's playful as ever.
Yeah, I like to kind of be free with it, like Basquiat kind of a style. At some point, I'll add different figures in here that have inspired me throughout my career. Like Spike Lee, he'll go in here. Basquiat, Frida Kahlo is one of my favorites. Keith Haring. So I'll paint them real big over, the mess in here, and just to keep that inspiration going. So yeah. I can't wait to finish.
That's great. I'm not showing my office because it's dirty and messy, but if you look at the blur, there's lots of frames everywhere. So I think I'm like overdoing it, but I can't stop adding. So I understand the feeling of wanting to be surrounded by your inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No such thing as overdoing.
You tell that to my husband.
Put him on, I'll tell him.
There's a lot of artwork in my house.
There's a what in your house?
A lot of artwork in my house. It rotates. It's almost like my own gallery, except nobody cleans the walls after me.
Maybe you should have showings. I'd buy a ticket.
Yeah, maybe.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just waiting for the official go. So we'll see when that happens. Okay, well, I just got the thumbs up. So let's go, you guys. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to have everyone here. And those of you joining us at home in your living rooms or wherever you are. My name is David Howson. I am a trustee at the Hyde Collection, and I'm also a professor at Skidmore College in Saratoga Springs, New York. I direct the Arts Administration program there. I am so excited to be moderating tonight's virtual chat for our Paths Less Traveled series in support of this year's high school juried show at the Hyde Collection. The show features nearly 100 outstanding works from students throughout the region. It's currently live at the Hyde Collection until May 30th, and we really encourage you to visit by scheduling your tickets through thehydecollection.org. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. Please take a look at your screen for brief instructions on how to access closed captioning for tonight's studio chat. Please note that all audience members are on mute, but we encourage you to ask questions to our panelists via the chat box or the Q&A box so that we can have an engaging Q&A throughout. And we might take some questions during or wait till the end. We'll just play it by ear and see how it goes. But feel free to pop questions in the chat at any time. Finally, this programming is made possible by a number of incredible sponsors, including our signature sponsor, Glens Falls National Bank, and a range of supporting sponsors as shown on your screen. We'd also like to thank the Hyde Collection Board of Trustees and Innovators Council for the resources they have contributed to make this success. And I also want to give a big shout out to Kate Wilkins at the Hyde Collection and Sarah Parker Ward, who have been instrumental putting this whole series together. Tonight's discussion features two panelists who have generously offered to open up about their journeys in order to inspire you to continue your creative passions. I'll be introducing each of them briefly with prepared notes and then turn it over to them to start the discussion in their own words. And we hope it will be a robust discussion back and forth. All right, let's get started. So Belinda Colón is the curator of the Arts Center at the Capital Region in Troy and the director of the Spring Street Gallery in Saratoga Springs. She has been working in arts administration, event production, and project management for over 14 years. She is one of the founding members of On Deck Saratoga and the artsheet.org. an online portal designed for artists, art enthusiasts, and arts organizations to connect with each other and share events. Belinda also serves on the Saratoga Springs Arts Commission and is a board member of Salem Artworks in Salem, New York. Also joining us is Ray Frazier. Ray is a multi-talented Schenectady native artist. She is the owner and creator of the brand Art Money and enjoys painting on multiple canvases, including, but not limited to, clothing, shoes, outerwear, buildings, and wrapped canvas. She's inspired by artists including Jean-Michel Basquiat, Keith Haring, Banksy, and Grace Jones, one of my favorites. She specializes in limited edition cultural collections that uplift and empower. Ray believes that art can evoke freedom and has used art as a catalyst to bring about social justice and awareness to human rights issues. Let's give a big virtual welcome to Belinda and Ray. Woohoo! Welcome, you guys. How's it going?
It's going well, thanks.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. I thought before we just do, standard bios and whatnot, I would love to put up an image. And first, I think I might start with one of Ray's images. And Ray, just to give us a sense of your work, tell us about it and just what it is you are doing. And I'm gonna share my screen here in a minute, and it'll give us some backside. So yeah, tell us about this. Oops.
This is one of the murals I actually created for a Black-owned business called Fresh and Fly. It's a clothing store in downtown Albany on South Pearl Street. The owner's name is Justice. Great guy. Has great, pieces of clothing and sneakers and dress wear. Very, very eclectic place to go shopping. So I'm always honored to create for small business owners, to help empower them and to help further their business. I'm very, very passionate about that. So I kind of really love these small, quote unquote, jobs, as opposed to the big mural that I'm currently embarking on. We'll get into that in a bit.
Cool.
But so, yeah, this is one of the mural pieces, like I said, not limited to. I just kind of started venturing out into the mural world about maybe 2 years ago, and I've been loving it ever since. It's fun. It's beautiful.
Great. Just a quick
It
question. So did he give you direction on what to include, or is this all you?
So 50-50. Sidebar, I hate it when customers, say, hey, do your thing. I love your stuff. Because, it puts then I have to think a lot about, I have to think about, what their style is, kind of what direction they want to go in. And you think creative control is like a gift, but I can't stand it. So he kind of had a vision of, what he wanted, different figures he wanted in this. This is his dressing room right here.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So when you like a piece of clothing and you want to try it on, you're surrounded by, these figures in space. So we got Queen Latifah here on the bottom, Biggie Smalls. That's Left Eye on the top from TLC. The late great Kobe, who was one of my heroes as a little girl. Tupac in the form of King Tut.
That's awesome.
And then you have the Gone Too Soon Nipsey Hussle at the bottom. So he was very intentional about how, what figures he wanted to be in there. And then we kind of collaborated on the quotes, different quotes, in terms of, empowering people to feel confident when they're getting dressed, you know what I mean? Different things to read while they're trying on their clothes and things like that. And then I wanted to make it a space theme. So you can't really, the picture doesn't do it too much justice, but in person, you see like a bunch of little stars and it looks very, very space-like. So yeah, it was a collaborative effort.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we can come back to that topic of artistic control later on. This is great. Okay. I want to share one Belinda image. Belinda, tell us what this is. And I think it's so cool. I would like to go there tonight. But tell us about it.
So this is Franklin Alley. This is between River Street and Broadway, which you don't want to go there tonight because there's a ton of traffic. Streets are blocked off. They're filming. They're doing some filming and production work down there right now. But Franklin Alley is a space, like I said, between River Street and Broadway and Troy. And we hired an artist who has been working in street art and graffiti for, I don't know, over 20 years, let's say. I don't want to age him. And we brought him up to Troy to look at this alley and try to rejuvenate it. So the city of Troy was fixing the sidewalks, fixing the road. We discussed putting lighting in and doing some things, and they wanted to create some artwork as well. So they reached out to the Art Center of the Capital Region. This project's been, I think, trying to come to fruition for 7 years. They were trying to get this done, and then as soon as we got the artist and started to think about how we needed a timeline for the artist, we really started to motivate them to move forward and work their magic in the side of the city and funding and all that good stuff. And so there are actually, I believe, 13 different pieces of artwork down this alley. Some of them were created on signs and adhered to the different buildings, and then others were direct spray paint mural on wall. So it's a new placemaking initiative that the city of Troy is trying to implement with the arts to create spaces that are underutilized, that we want to rejuvenate and let the community own again and create their own adventures inside of.
That's really neat. Thank you. I think it looks so cool. And I think that ties in with our theme tonight, which is community building power. And how do we go about community building? And why don't we just start off, tell us a little about yourselves. Maybe Belinda, go ahead and talk about what you do and where you are and sort of how you got to be and what makes your job so exciting.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a lot.
On the list. So I work, again, I'm the curator at the Art Center of the Capital Region, but first and foremost, I am very much an art appreciator. I am very much art supporter. And from the beginning, my inspiration for doing what I do is artists and people who I saw creating work, and I just felt like they needed more of an outlet, and I wanted to try to provide that. And I've always tried to help people. I've always tried to be in that sort of frame of mind. So with artists, I more guide and provide resources to than help. But some of them say thank you quite often, but I always tell them that they're helping themselves. I'm just giving them the tools to do it. So so I work at the Art Center of the Capital Region. I also work as the director at Spring Street Gallery. I started, this is my second time around in life, I would say. I worked in management in New York City, from food to retail, fashion, and the music industry. And then I met my husband in New York, and we ended up moving up to Saratoga Springs. He's a Skidmore alum. And we had one of my best friends in common. My friend Ashante lived here, and I came up to visit her while we were young, and we stayed in touch since we were 3 years old. So it was a great match. And actually, she introduced me to my husband. So we ended up in Saratoga. I got here and I was like, whoa, what am I going to do here? It's a total different place. And I thought, well, I think I'm going to go back to school. And I had always been very interested in the arts. We had just gotten married. My husband was like, you love throwing events. You love doing this. And, so anyway, I got in, I realized that arts were very important no matter what time period that I can think of. In New York, I had a lot of friends who were musically inclined. I loved dancing. I was always around the arts. I went to the museum anytime I could. And I was a history buff, history and religion buff. So art goes within that. Art is a reflection of that. So so I decided to go back to school for arts administration. It took my management skills and it took my love and passion for history and art and combined it all together. In addition, I also got to learn how to install work and really create environments to showcase this lovely craft that I was able to share with other people. So I started doing that, went to Spring Street, had an opportunity to run some events there, and it just little by little built more and more, and it's been great ever since.
That's awesome. You don't seem like, you seem very busy, like you don't have a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. Yeah, and then I do quite bit on the side, but I make them all intertwine. You know, my life is working in the arts. My husband's an artist. My kids definitely say, Mom, you're really happy at work. You know, and I'm like, well, I have to be happy at home too. But yeah, I think I'm definitely busy, but it's good busy. You know, we all have to learn how to say no, but I think that I'm saying yes to the right things. So
That's great, especially when you know that too.
yeah. Yeah.
Great. Ray Frazier, tell us about you. What got you started?
Heavy on the learning to say no to things. That resonated. Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, you just learned that lesson not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
What got me started? What a loaded question. So I wasn't always an artist. I thought that I was supposed to be the athlete of the family, because my brother, he's a phenomenal artist and he hates it. But he used to always sketch. Yeah, he hates it. He hates it, and he is amazing. So, you know, I always felt, you know, intimidated as a little girl, like seeing his grandiose drawings and paintings. I'm like, wow, I could never do that. So I'm going to play basketball. So that's what I did. I played basketball. I didn't start playing organized basketball until about, you know, senior year. And it was interesting. You know, a lot of different colleges tried to recruit me and things like that. And I was a little nervous to go away to school. And I was a little bit of a troublemaker in school as well. So I was really good at cooking at the time. So I thought that I was going to be a culinary arts major and be a chef. Turns out when I went to culinary arts school, when cooking became homework, I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want me to bake a cake from scratch and then tell you about the science? I hate math. So that was just terrible. I didn't know how much math was associated with baking. I don't know if you guys have ever made a piece of bread from scratch. Oh my goodness. If you don't put the exact amount of yeast in a bread, terrible piece of bread.
Can't undo that.
It's interesting, but I just didn't want to do it forever, you know?
Yeah.
So I dropped out of culinary arts school. SEC, super great program, beautiful program there for culinary arts. And I started working in a warehouse for about 6 years, and I made great money. But I was tired every day. You know, I was the only, woman in the warehouse driving the forklifts and things like that. And, I just said to myself, this stinks. I do not want to do this. Money is great, but if I'm not having a good time, to your point, Belinda, I gotta your kids, noticing you having fun at work. I wasn't having fun at work. It was awful. It was daunting. I was tired. I couldn't even enjoy the money. So anyway, I decided I needed to go back to school. So I went back to school for phys ed because I was always, a sports person. I loved learning about the body. I wanted to teach kids about, their body and how it moves and, all the kinetics and everything about that. So I went back to school for Hudson Valley, got straight A's, made the president's list. So it was great. I was on the basketball team, broke the rebounding record that still stands.
Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I transferred to Cortland University for PE. Great time. It was culture shock though, because I was, it was a predominantly white school, and I have never been around, that kind of environment, as a youth from Schenectady, Hamilton Hill specifically. But it was one of the greatest decisions I've ever made, in terms of meeting new people and just diverse groups. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. So long story short, I came back to Schenectady, got hired. And then I decided something else was still missing. I got a teaching job. This is great. And I'm like, what else is there? So I started, I've always been really, really heavy into fashion. And I started painting on my clothes and my shoes, and it got a lot of attention. And people used to, start hitting me up for commission work. And I started creating pieces for people. And then it turns out I really, really enjoyed it. Just the piece that comes with painting and, it being purposeful, and the idea of the canvas moving as opposed to just staying stagnant on the wall. I fell in love with it. Wow, I could do this for a living. So I was doing that. Was kind of my side hustle, and then I think this is one of the questions, I don't want to cheat and, get ahead, but COVID hit, right?
Yep.
And I got a call from my supervisor, and she's like, Ray, we're gonna have to let you go. And I'm like, I'm the coolest teacher on the planet, and you're gonna let me go? Are you kidding me? I'm the teacher wearing, Nikes to school, super duper untraditionally dressed, just
inspiring, I'm sure, to the kids.
Absolutely. The kids love, not to toot my own horn, but the kids loved coming into Miss Frazier's classroom. We had smooth R&B playing before the lesson, just a really chill, and because I just believed in, connecting with the kids before handing them a piece of paper and, telling them to work and things like that. So anyway, I got let go, and I was like devastated, and I was very nervous. Someone calls you and tells you like you don't have a job anymore. It sends you into kind of like panic mode. So I'm like, holy crap, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna pay the mortgage? I don't have any kids yet, but my dog, my little poodle, that's my kid. How's he gonna eat?
Exactly.
That's my baby. And then I'm super duper competitive though. So after being terrified and frightened, I'm like, you know what? It's go time. Let's go. It is time to pursue this art thing full time. It's that time. I took it as a sign from the higher ups, like, hey, listen, sister, let's go. Let's kick it in the fifth gear. And I launched my brand, Art Money. And that just comes from I believe that whatever your art is, because there's so many different styles and levels of art, whatever you do, you deserve to get paid for it. A lot of the times, unfortunately, artists are so undervalued, and artists get taken advantage of because it's not seen as like, a superior profession. And that's kind of, where the term art money came from for me. It's like, no, you deserve to sit at every single table, and I'm currently teaching a course. I'm a consultant for a course called Artists in Construction, where I'm teaching artists to, how to discuss, business lingo with, customers, and partnering with architect groups, to create big murals like, the one I'm going to create. So yeah, I went ahead with it and launched it and came up with the idea to, do a collection each month that I'll never recreate, just to give that idea of like exclusivity and just very, very purposeful pieces of clothing. And, it's been going phenomenal. I still paint on shoes if people want, their jackets and their shoes painted. And Art Money encompasses so much, from customization to murals and my collections that I drop every month. And I'm just grateful that I bet on myself and, just believed in myself and continued to persevere. And here I am.
So I have a question. Sorry, David. I'm moderating. So how's your brother? Is your brother gotten involved since you started doing this? Have you been able to inspire him to get involved with you?
Very, very little. Very little. Yeah, he's interested and he's like impressed, that I kind of came out of nowhere, so he calls it. He's impressed and he's like, he always wants to see, what I've done. So, I'm kind of plugging away at getting him back into, his arts. I see him, kind of peeking and stuff. I think he's a little bit nervous to get back into it because he hasn't, painted in so long. But I would love to collaborate with him.
He definitely sees you, so that's good.
Yes, indeed.
That is great. Maybe you could do a new line of family work.
That would be super cool.
So, you said something that struck me. I never thought about designing clothing or designing art for clothing is about a moving canvas. Like it moves, whether it's a shoe or a t-shirt or whatever. You are painting on something that is moving. What a whole nother dimension. You sort of blew my mind, actually. Like, that's really cool. It must be very hard too.
It is and it isn't. It depends on the canvas. Sometimes people come in with like velvet pieces and I'm like, you want me to paint on a piece of velvet? Are you sure? But I kind of love those challenges because then I have to figure out how to, create something very sustainable and to make sure that it's, durable and that it's going to last a very long time. So I love that though. And I love that I'm inspiring more people to, get art on their clothes so that, it's meaningful. And I always sneak text into my work too and write something very, very purposeful, just so like especially when it moves, you know, if you write something
Yeah.
that's really meaningful, you're in a grocery store and you could just make someone's day, you know, if I just did a sweater not too long ago, and, you know, I wrote on the back, like, you'll be okay. Something very short and sweet, you know, on the back on the shoulder, you know.
Wow.
But you know, something so small could be something super impactful and powerful for the person standing behind me, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about community building. And maybe start with Belinda. Belinda, how do you see your role as building community, and what kind of projects do you undertake? And I guess, how do you seek them out, or do people seek out Art Center in the Capital Region or Spring Street? Do you want to take a stab at that?
So I think number one is, as an arts administrator, I have to listen. I have to listen. I have to hear what people are saying. I need to educate myself on what's going on everywhere, and I need to pay attention. Most people with community building, it is a dialogue that's not being readily available to them. They don't know who to reach out to. They don't know what's going on. So there's a comfort level there. So I think my job and the way that I communicate with the community is to try to create those open dialogues, listen to what people are asking for, and try to, again, present those tools if I have them. And if not, I try to find the resources for them to help, again, themselves find those tools, or put them in the right connection with those who may. A lot of people come to the Art Center of the Capital Region. Having a name like the Arts Center of the Capital Region, we definitely get a lot of questions about different programming or different things that people want accessibility to. But I would say that when it comes down to it, it's just being out in the community and being aware of what's going on that really creates further discussion and opportunities for the arts, especially in the community. You have to be able to create an understanding, and the only way you're going to create an understanding is to have trust, and that trust comes from support and supporting your community and knowing your community. So it's been a bit of a challenge in Troy for me, I have to be honest, because I'm not from Troy. I've been there for 3 years, but I'm still learning who everyone is. I'm still learning who Team Hero is and what they do. I'm still learning, you know, what goes on under the basketball courts. I'm still learning so much about those communities that are there and have been there for, you know, many, many more years than I have. And so board members have been helping me connect with different community leaders and having those conversations with the community leaders, going to the Boys and Girls Club, having conversations with them, trying to figure out opportunities that way. It's not a one answer solution.
Right.
It's really a big challenge, but it's a challenge that I think is extremely important. The same thing with Spring Street. I mean, we, you know, the whole mission of Spring Street is to really promote and help create opportunity or awareness of different ideology or sustainable experiences within the region.
Yeah.
So again, it is those people who have made it more aware to me that I can find, but honestly, I have to be out there and have to talk to people in order to figure out how to connect with the community.
Yeah. Sounds like you have to have your pulse on many different risks or areas, right? So like the piece you just talked about with the one in the alleyway where you were bringing the street back to life.
Yeah.
You know, that's urban development, or whatever, I don't know what you would call it, but you know, that's I don't know if you went to them first or if they came to you about it, but at some point someone had to make that connection to make that work.
Yeah, I think that in that situation, it was talked about having some kind of art component at some point, and then my director finally said, I believe she said, look, you know, this is something that we can help with, we can get involved with, as she was on some board and committees and they were having a conversation about it. And then it went from there, and then it came to me to find an artist and to try to connect with the community. At that point, it was interesting with Franklin Alley because I had only worked at the Art Center for maybe 3 months or 4 months, maybe. And I was asked to take on this project. And so I did what I know best, is to reach out to the street art community that I knew of and say, who are these people who will actually come through for this? Who do I want to give visibility to that I know that has created a large scale set of works like this, you know? So when I found Joe Urato, he's the artist who created the work, he was really excited, and he had done some work in Albany with some muralists and street artists in the early 2000s. So there was some recognition there, but it was challenging because it wasn't, we went out to the community and said, what does the community want in this alley?
Right.
It was, let's move forward to try to create this placemaking location for the community. So when Joe got to agreeing to create with us, my mission was to get Joe in front of as many people as possible, to get Joe in front of the community. So we had him going to the Boys and Girls Club and meeting with young people in Troy. We had him out and about in Troy Night Out. We had him coming to, the farmer's market and just kind of like accessing the community of Troy within downtown. So it was, it's challenging either way, but yes, that was a great community project, but also something that I learned from, that I think I would have created more opportunity if I could have, to reach out to more community members to have more feedback on what we were doing.
That's great. One takeaway from that answer is, the power of relationships, and not just networking, but following through and doing a lot of listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
To see who can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, talk about what does community building mean to you, and sort of talk about your community and how you fit in, and what some things you've had to do.
Yeah, so currently, I didn't mention this in my bio. It's so interesting when people ask, who you are and what you do. It's like a loaded question because we're not one-dimensional. We do so many things, we wear so many different hats, and I think it's about whatever hat you're wearing currently, kind of. So along with creating art, I am also a board member and one of the co-founders of Miracle on Craig Street, which is a super duper grassroots organization leading the efforts to reopen Carver Community Center, which is located in Hamilton Hill, Schenectady, New York. And I just recently found out that one of my great grandmothers was the founder of this building, and it's been kind of shut down and vacant for like 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's sort of big. That's like connection.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know. It's pretty amazing. It feels very heavy for some reason. In a good way though. In a good way. This building has been vacant for so long. And my partner and I decided about 4 years ago that we were going to go after it. Crazy. It was her idea, honestly. She's the one with the craziest ideas, and I'm just like, yep, let's go do it. That's what a good partner is, right? You want to ride or die that just says yes to your crazy ideas. So long story short, we attained ownership of the building past years. People were very, very excited about it. So community building to me, when Belinda said doing a lot of listening, that is incredibly important. And I had to learn that just because I was from the community doesn't mean that my ears turn off, right? Because what I think the community needs versus what my neighbor might think we need could be vastly different. And really just making sure I'm listening to the whys and the different perspectives and things of that nature. So embarking on this path of reopening this robust community center has been a big passion of mine. And very recently, I just created a mural on the side of it. And I wanted to, anytime I create anything community-based, I really try to do my best to utilize the community. Because it's not my mural. That's how I look at it. As a muralist, anytime I'm painting and creating in the community, it's not my piece of art. I'm just the one creating it for us, right? So I tried to figure out how I could collaborate with the community to put art on this building. So what I did was I tagged as many local residents as I could in a post and asked, what would you want to see on this building? And, people just started commenting words. It's like 1,000 words, some were, redundant and repetitive. So I compiled it and just put a bunch of words on the building. I should have uploaded a picture of it. I'm not sure if I did. But yeah, so it's full of words on the buildings, just community and love, peace, hope, stardust, things like that.
I think I have it. I'm going to share it. Okay.
Yeah, please do.
Tell me if it's not it.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. These are all, words from the community. I didn't have an input in any of it. I just wanted to be the catalyst that kind of sparked this piece of art, and just to let everyone know, like, hey, listen, we have ownership of this building. It's our building, and we're not going to just let it go to nothing. You know what I mean? It was a staple in our community, and it's important as people from the community to kind of stand up and take ownership of such things. And we just got it recently on the historical registry. So it can't be broken down or anything like that. So that was a big win for us as well. Because this building was used as a place to meet for civil rights meetings and organizing groups, and there's just so much history in this building, and then we almost lost it. And I'm just grateful to be such a part of such an important project, and using art as a catalyst to evoke hope and change. And people tell me all the time, like, thank you so much for putting this piece of art on the building. Like, if we didn't have this vibrant piece of art, we would think that this would be shut down. Right. And it's just the importance of, again, like Belinda said, listening and just being out in the community, and not being afraid to engage with people and find out what their thoughts are. I honestly can't stand titles, because when people hear titles, they tend to treat you differently, or they put you on this pedestal and things like that. And people always ask me, why don't you say that you're a part of this organization, you're doing this? Because I want people to make sure that they're looking at me as an equal, what I mean? And vice versa. It's very, very important to me for, us to be able to converse on the same level. I don't want you to hear that I'm the president of some organization, and then, you feel like you're lesser than, right. And that's unfortunate in our society. This one of our societal norms that you conform to. So, long story short, just making sure that the community is heard. I'm a big, advocate for just voices being heard. And, just it reminds me of this big project. We had to do a community engagement portion, and we had a list of organizations and presidents that we had to talk to. And I was the artist that I'm collaborating with, Eugene O'Neill, on this mural piece, and I'm kind of like the pain in the butt that always stirs the pot. I'm like, listen, the organizations are important, but the people are just as important, so we need to make sure that we're out here and we are knocking on doors, and we are inviting the people to these meetings just as much as, the higher ups. I want to hear from, the person who's going to be actually walking past this structure, what they want to see. What I mean? I don't want to hear from, no disrespect to anybody, but, Mr. Joe, who sits in a big man's chair, I'd rather, hear from a resident who's going to be walking by.
Right. They need to own it. They need to own it. And in order for them to really appreciate what it is, they need to own it. They need to know it's theirs. It's their neighborhood.
Talk that talk. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And murals are so great because they really do hold up a mirror, right? I mean, you solicited all those words from that post, right, to use in the mural, and then you put it on a wall for everybody to see. I mean, so you're sort of taking that little post and then putting it out there for everybody. I just think that's really neat.
Yeah.
If I can say something that I find myself stuck with a lot is I'm told repeatedly in a couple of my different positions now that I need to not put the artist first. I need to sometimes not think about the artist. I honestly don't know how to do that. And it's very hard for me not to, because I am someone who appreciates, Ray, your vision, and what you're thinking and how you connect with people through your art. It's really hard to say, well, okay, I hear what you're saying, but the bottom line I understand is there's a financial portion of this, but without the artists, we wouldn't have any of this. And so I find that, it was really hard actually during COVID because I couldn't access the artists that I wanted to access anymore because it was so hard to find them. I couldn't get into the studio spaces that I needed to be inspired by them. And so, again, I kept saying, well, let's do this for them. They need more. And, we started Tony Idicio from Albany Center Galleries started the Creative Impact, and I was 100% behind that. I was like, that's money for artists. That's opportunities, whatever we have to do to create this platform. And so I do, I hear you when you say, titles, who does what and what, when. It doesn't matter if you can't, at the end of the day, say that you had a conversation with someone and that conversation is now what the community sees on the wall and they love it, It really, it's a big deal. And it's something that as an arts administrator, I have to repeat to myself every day that I need to always think about the artist. I really do. I'm not an artist. I'm visually inclined, and I can take your work and I can make it presentable to whatever environment you would like me to. But when it comes down to it, you have to make the work that then I can help support.
Indeed.
Wow, this is really great, you guys. Thank you so much for being open and just sharing all this. What are some things that spark innovation for you, whether you're, Ray, when you're planning a new mural or, I wouldn't say just doing a t-shirt, but, if you're doing a piece of clothing, or Belinda, if you're programming a show or working on a project, where do you turn for innovation and inspiration?
I mean,
Either
for
one,
me, I'm just going to say the same thing I've been saying this whole time is other artists and thinking about, just what the community responds to. So it's, I was around a bunch of skateboarders my whole life, and I went to Troy and I had an opportunity to create a last minute show. And I said, okay, what artists do I know that I can call right now and they'll be here and they'll create and they'll make it happen. And I called them and we built a skate ramp and we put a bunch of artwork around the walls and we opened it up for everyone to join. And it was fantastic. And I could not have done that without the skill and community of artists.
That's great. Can I share a shot of that?
Yeah, sure.
So here's one.
Wow.
Yeah, so the photography was from a local artist named Chris Qua. And then the skateboard decks, I went out to some artists who I knew would come through, but had never done anything like this before. This was a whole new medium for them. It was called Imply. And yeah, and then behind that wall is, it was a 14-foot long skate ramp. I think it was 4 feet high. And so my ceilings, it was very close to the ceiling. It's as high as I could make it, but it was amazing because we had people in there creating this community together, enjoying artwork, and also, using this space like it's never been used before. It was really fun. It was a really great time.
Wow. And then this one.
Yeah, so that's the back of, so we put a swing in because I had an extra deck and I was like, let's put a swing in. We have a little extra space. So after the show had opened, we popped that in there. And then the mural itself, we had 2 murals on both sides. So that's the width of the skate ramp. So actually our education director, Joseph Mastriani, is an amazing artist and doesn't get to create as much and be as visible as much as I would really like him to be. But this is his work. And then on the other side, we had another mural done by David Pasquale. He's going to kill me that I didn't say his name right, but and Sean McLaughlin. And it was really great. It was all inspiring. And at that time, Sean had worked as an employee, but wanted this creative outlet. So of course I was like, yeah, create, have a good time. It was great. And the gallery got bruised up, but guess what? The gallery is perfectly fine. And it was well worth the little bruises that it had. So
I love that term, bruised up. Yeah. I mean, what worse problems can you have, right?
Exactly. It was used. It was there for the use that it did what it was supposed to do. It was a great exhibit. And
then one more of the same. So who are these people?
So these are skaters from all over the region, Albany, Schenectady, Saratoga, and that's the mayor of Troy.
Wow.
in the middle there on the skateboard. So, you know, I mean, obviously I don't think he was really going to go down into the ramp. I wish he did, because that would have been
I was just
fantastic.
about to ask.
He did not, but you know, he was there with, you know, with his wife, and it was great. Like, everybody was there, everybody was casual, they felt relaxed, and this is what art should do. It should bring people together to have a nice, comfortable evening or day out together where everyone's smiling and having a good time.
Now, this is sort of an interesting point. Did the skaters know that they were being objects in a show?
They had a choice.
When they go down that ramp, they're in the show, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, the skaters could care less, to be honest, as long as there's a ramp there. So I don't think that was really a problem at all. They were like, so people did come there just to watch because they had never seen this. And some people were very like hesitant because they had never been around something like this before. And skateboards do fly off the ramps, and, you know, so there were waivers signed. But at the same time, you know, yeah, I mean, the skaters were just like, sure, why not? We're having a good time. You're giving us a place in the winter. So we did this in the winter because there's nowhere for skaters to go in the winter indoors in this region. So yeah, it all worked out. They could care less. They had such a good time. And skaters, carpenters who happen to be skaters, also built the ramp. So it was really great because it was all around all types of creative abilities in that show. It was wonderful.
That's really neat. I mean, that's really a way to engage people in, you know, I hate the word non-traditional, but that is pretty fresh, right?
Yeah, it was fun.
Belinda, can you skateboard?
I used to when I was like 16. I mean, I could still get on a deck, but I think right now, I think my husband's watching. He'd be like, nah, she doesn't skate. But I can get on and I can roll. But I used to be able to do an ollie. I can't do an ollie any longer. You know, a quick little shove it here and there, but that was really it. Enough to roll. I was a Betty. You know, I'd hang out and watch and have a good time with the community of it.
Nice.
I played basketball and I played volleyball. That's where I was. I went afterward. They went skating. I went and played volleyball or basketball.
So Ray, we have a question in the chat, which I hope you can answer. How can we donate to the Carver Community Center renovation project?
Absolutely. So there is a website. It's called miracleoncraigstreet.org.
Okay.
So you can visit our website, and there's a ton of info on, you know, where we're at. Yep, exactly. It's right there.
Awesome.
Thank you for putting that there. Yeah, it has a ton of more info, and it has, you know, where we have our PayPal link set up right there. So yeah, you know, we're always looking for, you know, funds to get donated. Like I said, we're super duper grassroots, and, you know, writing grants is great, but, you know, when people actually believe in the project that you're doing and your funds come from, you know, people believing, you know, in what you're doing, it's just, you know, I get emotional even thinking about it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for asking that.
I'm going to ask you both to sort of jump into a time machine right now and think back to when you were 16 or in high school. And what were some things you wish you knew at the time, or wish you had looked into more? Or what's some advice you would give to a high school student that is in high school right now and they're listening to this conversation and they're like, wow, I want to be Ray, or I want to be Belinda. What's some advice you would give them to get to where you are? Or, you know, I always tell my students, you know, there's not one single path to one end career or job or passion even. So what would you think?
Right, you go first. Yeah, you do this. You go for it.
Okay. You know, that's a tricky one. Advice to a high school student?
You can try.
right. Depends on like the day, if they've eaten yet, right? What class they're in, you know.
Or maybe talk about what you wish you knew.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So high school Ray. You know, what I would tell my younger self, or, you know, any high school student who whatever path they're on, is, you know, you're not one dimensional. It is totally fine to change your mind, right? And do different things. Because I remember specifically and very, very vividly in high school, having like incredible anxiety about what the heck I wanted to do in life, right? I always hated and cringed at the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? The heck? I don't know. I'm 15, I'm 16. I don't know what I want to be. What do you want to be? Do you want to be what you are right now? You know
That's
what I mean?
good. Turn it back on them.
Yeah.
No, seriously, and that's such a difficult question. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Right? Because it always changes, it always changes. It's, we're not one dimensional as humans, even though, like I said, we wear different hats. I was a teacher by day, and I'm also the varsity assistant coach for the girls basketball team. I forgot to throw that in there. So
It's
many
not in your
hats. Like I
bio.
said, exactly. It's not in my bio, but I do all these different things. But that's okay. So that's what I would tell my younger self, or high school students today. It's okay to do whatever feels good in the moment. You know what I mean? There's no rules to happiness, and what makes you feel good. That magic inside you is that you want to do different things. You know what I mean? So and part of that advice is, be kind to yourself. Love on yourself. Whatever that looks like for you, be super kind to yourself, because it's easy to like get down on yourself, like, crap, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know what art form I want to dive into. There's a lot of things you don't know in high school. And that's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay. We're only on the planet for such a short amount of time with each other. Sometimes we spend too much time thinking about these daunting things, and just be kind to yourself, and give yourself time to figure it out and do what feels good in the moment. If you're a painter today and you want to be a carpenter or something else next week, that's fine. You know what I mean? I think that doing what feels good in the moment will undoubtedly lead you to where you're supposed to be in life, and you'll end up loving your job, like Miss Belinda here. You know what I mean? That's what life is about, really loving what you do, so it doesn't feel like work, and you're just having fun, like lifelong fun,
Right.
and getting paid for it. So trust yourself, be kind to yourself, and do what feels good in the moment.
Love it. Belinda.
I would say that I spent a lot of time in the library, and some of my friends would joke around with me about it. And you know what, 16-year-old Belinda, it's okay that you hung out in the library, because maybe you should have spent more time in the library reading more about history, because that's what I did. I just sat there and read about history and art. And, I remember people being like, why don't you take more art classes? Why don't you blah, blah, blah? Why don't you? And there was always like, why don't you come out and do this? Or why don't you come out? And I doubted myself, because I felt like I wasn't doing what everyone else was doing, but I kept my head up. I was the first one to go to college, the first one to really like do something. And so I'm proud of who I was at 16. I'm glad that I didn't feel that peer pressure to have to do things that I didn't need to do. And the only other thing I would tell myself is, take as many classes as you want. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, so you can't draw as well as that person. So what? Keep doodling. You can't write like that other person, or you don't have the confidence to speak in front of other people the way those people do. Well, that's okay. You can do it another time. So I think just working that out and being able to be whoever you really are is important. And I say that to my kids all the time. I'm like, once in a while, I'll say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Just to hear what they say. And then we're like, okay, well, just be happy. You know what I mean? Whatever you do, it's fine.
Right.
Keep doodling is a life mantra.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doodling. Wow, that struck a chord. That's beautiful. That's what it's about. Keep doodling, no matter what.
And my doodles now don't look much different than the doodles when I was in high school. And I'm okay with that. It still looks like big bubbly eyes and a smile, and I'm okay with that. It's okay.
Yeah,
That's
man.
awesome. That's great. Well, I want to turn for just a second and talk about social media. Ray, you mentioned it as a way of soliciting feedback from your community, but talk about other ways that you use social media or don't use social media as in terms of professional or personal promotion, or what do you find it as a useful tool? Ray, I want to go to you first.
Yeah, absolutely. Social media has like taken over the planet, right? Um, and professionalism, I'm probably like the worst person to ask about professionalism, because I am very much that person who's super unprofessional in meetings. And I'm very much in belief of, whoever you are, bring who you are to every single meeting, into everywhere in life. And if people don't like who you are, then that's on them. But you can't stop being who you are just because of professionalism or whatever that means.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can go down a rabbit hole about professionalism.
But that's
Social
to
media.
say you don't have one Facebook account for Ray Frazier the artist and then Ray Frazier personal. It's all one, right? What you're
It's
saying?
all one. Absolutely. I do have accounts for my art money pages.
Yep.
So I do have my personal, and then I have my art money, just so that it's easier for everyone to see my art compiled all in one. My personal stuff is just like a bunch of random thoughts, you know what I mean? But for people who are just strictly interested in my art, I do have an account for that. And that's primarily how I operate now. I don't have a website yet because I'm super picky. I'm incredibly picky. It has to be perfect. It has to be exactly what I envision. So I'm fine with waiting until I, connect with the right person who can, take the jumble that's in my brain and make it make sense into a website, so that it's super user friendly and that it looks really, really cool, and aesthetically pleasing. Until that day happens, I'll continue to operate off social media. So social media has helped me a lot, in terms of my art. It helped me reach a vastly wide, diverse group of people who are super interested in the messages that I want to convey to the planet. Big shout out to social media. I was definitely anti-social media, a couple years ago. I'm like, can we like interact in person in real life as humans? So I think it is super important, to make sure that because it's addicting. It's so easy to just like scroll and scroll and scroll. Especially when the memes there's a popular meme or two or three or 1,000. It's just like fun. So I really try to like make sure that it's limited, my social media use daily, which is hard, because I do still believe in real life human interaction.
Yeah. But it is a tool. Yeah. Belinda, what about you?
Social media has been great, especially with COVID, because we really didn't have that interaction anymore. But I have to say, I'm happy that we have it. I will continue to use it, but I really want to go to the bulletin board at the library and see art possibilities and different events and things. I miss that. I really miss the paper that it's created on, the staples everywhere, those textures and those sort of memories. So, me being a history buff, I kind of like seeing, what the community is presenting. So I definitely think that it's very useful. I definitely think that it's changing, and that concerns me, because is there going to be another Facebook and another Instagram and another LinkedIn and another, so I think it changes quite a bit. I'd like it to stay a little more still, so that we can all figure it out before it changes to the next thing. And the biggest challenge with social media is not everybody's on every platform.
Yeah.
So you have to get on all these different platforms and you have to learn how to use them all. And so I appreciate what it does. I definitely think it's not going away. But I don't want to see the other way of doing things disappear either. I really hope that people continue to make posters and print them out and put them in their local communities, because not everybody is on computers all the time. And I have to say, more and more on my time off, I'm not looking at it, but then again, I have the artsheet.org, which is all about creating opportunities and sharing them with people. But even with that, I'm hoping that I can make it a little more visible and more conducive to in-person conversation.
That's awesome. It's definitely here to stay, but how we're going to use it is going to be different to each one of us and our audiences and our community. Our time together tonight is sort of drawing to a close. So before I do the last question, I just want to definitely thank Belinda and Ray for joining us tonight. And I saw DeQuetta Jones is in the room. And I want to do a shout out to DeQuetta for thanking us, introducing us to Ray. That was so awesome. And Belinda and Ray, just as a token of our appreciation, we're going to give each of you a membership to the Hyde for a year.
Thank
So we
you.
hope you'll come visit.
Definitely.
See the show.
Ray, let's go together. We got to get to know each other.
Absolutely. Do you like food? We gotta eat.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Don't like mushrooms. Unless you can find a mushroom I'll like, I'm good otherwise.
I want to
Hey,
come.
We're fine. No mushrooms.
I'm coming. So let's talk about, things have changed. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, thank goodness. People are out and about. There's sort of a feeling of renewal. And what would you say to a student who is listening to this and has been through a pandemic and is like, I want to do murals. That's it. I decided I want to do murals, or I want to be a curator.
Contact us. Contact us.
Yeah.
You reach out to an artist, reach out to anywhere, tell somebody you're interested, volunteer, just start doing it. You have to. Don't feel like you're held back because of COVID any longer. We're done. We're done. Go online, find a local artist, talk to them about it. If that person can't help you, go to the next person. Just don't give up.
Yeah, I second that. Definitely do it. Whatever it is you feel like you need to do it. Like I said, COVID has been a blessing. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I don't know if I would have, launched my business if I wasn't, pushed to,
Yeah.
there's a big difference in, wanting something to work versus it having to work. You know what I mean? And COVID definitely forced that upon me and really pushed me. Like I said, I'm a competitor. So I looked at, COVID as, the big boss at the end of the board. You know what I mean? I'm a big Sega fan. So COVID was like Dr. Robotnik to me. So it's like, so I'm like, what's good? Let's go. You're going down. So yeah, just do it. And I am always looking to inspire. I think, the thing about inspiration, that's the magic we have, we're playing ping pong with the inspiration back and forth, So yeah, if you are ever looking for any resources, like Belinda said, we're not hard to find, hit me up, Art Money page. My Instagram is ARTMON3Y. So yeah, directly message us and we'll get you going.
Awesome. Well, we are right on the 7:30 dot. I just want to thank you both again for participating tonight.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And be sure to check out the Hyde's High School Juried Show, which closes this weekend. And then everyone, I just want to wish everyone a safe and happy summer. And please stay in touch. Thanks, Belinda. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank
Bye,
you.
David.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye, David.
Bye, guys.